Okay, so we're back in Tomer Devorah. We are on day 27. We're starting chapter 9. So it says how a person should accustom himself with the attribute of Malchut. Firstly, one should not hold himself aloft with all that he possesses. Rather, he should always consider himself as a pauper, placing himself before his Creator like the destitute, begging and pleading. Even if he is a man of wealth, he should accustom himself with this attitude, considering that none of his possessions belong to him and that he is forsaken, requiring the constant mercies of his Creator, having nothing at all besides the bread he eats. He should humble his heart and act as if he himself was a pauper, and especially at the time of prayer, for this is a wonderful auspicious. I think it means wonderfully auspicious. So in contrast, it is stated, your heart may become aloft, and you may forget Hashem your God. This is Devorah, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 14. For external forgetfulness is common there with one who holds himself aloft. King David conducted himself very much with this attribute, saying, for I am alone and poor. Tehillim, Psalms 25:16, considering himself as a pauper. Since each member of a man's household must fend for himself before the heavenly court, what can anyone do for him? Of what help will even his wife and children be when he is judged before the Creator? Or when his soul departs, will they accompany him beyond the grave? What good are they to him in this time of judgment, from the entrance to his grave and beyond? Therefore, one should humble and perfect himself according to the essence of this attribute. The second, extremely important method is explained in Sefer HaZohar, Yechiel 198b. One should exile himself, wandering from place to place for the sake of heaven, thereby becoming a vehicle for the exiled Shekhinah. He should compare himself. Behold, I exiled myself, but I have all my implements with me. But what about the honor of the Supreme One? For the Shekhinah is exiled without her implements, for they are lacking as a result of the exile. For this reason, he should minimize his implements as much as possible, as it is written, make for yourself implements of exile. Jeremiah 46:19. He should humble his heart in exile and bind himself to Torah, then the Shekhinah will be with him. He should also impose an expulsion order upon himself, always banishing himself from the comforts of his home, just as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his comrades banished themselves and toiled in Torah. Better still, he should trudge by foot from place to place without horse or wagon. Concerning such a person, it is stated, his hope is on Hashem his God. Tehillim, that's Psalms 146, verse 5. As it is explained in the Zohar, the word Sivro can be read homiletically as Shivro, and derives from the word shever, meaning breaking, for he breaks his body for the honor of the Supreme One. Another very important aspect of the attribute of Malchut, which is the gateway to all of divine service, is to fear the honored and awesome Hashem. Now, fear itself is extremely dangerous in that it can cause a blemish and allow entry to the external forces. For if the fear is from suffering, death, or Gehenna, it is actually fear of the external forces themselves, since all of these functions derive from the external forces. However, the primary fear is fear of Hashem. This is achieved by pondering three things, or four things. The first, since the greatness of He who fashioned all things is over all existence, and behold, man fears the lion, the bear, the terrorist, fire, and a falling ruin, which are all minor emissaries. Why then should he not fear the great king and have the awe of his greatness resting upon his face? He should say, how can the despicable man sin against such a great master? For if he angered a bear, it would gobble him up, whereas because the Holy One, blessed be He, tolerates insult, is this a reason not to fear His awesomeness and greatness? The second, by imagining His constant divine providence, which observes and scrutinizes him. And behold, a slave always fears his master when in his presence, and a man is always in the presence of the Creator, who carefully inspects all his ways. Thus he should be afraid and terrified to be seen nullifying His commandments. The third, since He is the root of all souls, since God is the root of all souls, all of them are rooted in His Sephirot. A transgressor damages His sanctuary. Should he not fear that the king's sanctuary will be soiled by his evil deeds? The fourth, one should understand that his flawed deeds repel the Shekhinah above. One should fear lest he cause this great evil of divesting the king's desire from the queen, Hashem's desire from the Shekhinah. So these kinds of fear set a person on the right path towards perfecting this attribute, enabling him to cleave to it.